Okay, so let's get started with Fusion. So what I'm going to do really quickly is just build a couple simple features right off the bat. I'm just going to go quickly and then we'll come back and look at the specific ways and methods that I use to construct something. But I just wanted to show you some of the benefits of working in a parametric modeler like Fusion, versus something that's not necessarily parametric like AutoCAD or Rhino or some of those tools. So everything in Fusion is driven by a sketch. And so the first thing we'll do is we'll say create sketch. And then by default, you get your work planes that you want to work with. So it's best that you choose the appropriate plane that you want to start with. It doesn't really matter, but I try to just generally follow good drafting principles here. So I'm going to click on a top plane here. And a lot of the work that you might do if you're creating signs or different things, they generally would start with some sort of rectangle. And so a good best practice for me would be to just use a centered rectangle right here. And you'll see the benefits of that as we move forward. I'm just going to click and not put any dimensions on this. I'll choose Stop Sketch. Now we're ready to turn this thing into 3D. And so I can right click on this and I can extrude this by choosing Press Pull. I have options here for doing things like extrude, revolve, sweep, loft, etc. Extrude is kind of the same as press pull as well. So we'll just choose that and we'll just drag it to a desired dimension that we want. My first lesson I talked about the work history that you have. Down here at the bottom you can see that I have the history being captured, and so I have my sketch, my first feature, and I can use this scroll bar to kind of go back in time and see what I did at some point. I can also do, go back to the beginning here, hit play, and have it play through the different options that I have. This will become valuable, especially if you're working on some really complex things. Now there's a lot of intelligence based off of what you select inside of Fusion. So for example, I click on this edge and I do a right mouse click here, it brings up features that I can perform on that edge. And so I can put a fillet, I can put a chamfer. By default, if you do a press pull, that's going to put a fillet on there or a round. I can choose OK to accept that. If I choose this here, right mouse click, hit chamfer, I can drag this arrow to put the size in, and I have that. I mentioned that Fusion was parametric, so at any point in time I can click on this feature down here in the tree and say edit this, and then put in a specific size that I want to change that to. And I can do the same for the chamfer as well. I can also kind of hover over this as well. You can see I can see the face, I can see the parents, I can actually tell it to select the chamfer, and then from there I can do an edit feature and then pull that up and make a change. I can navigate around holding down the shift middle mouse button and complete this. Now if I want to do some additional work on here, maybe I want to cut a hole out of this. So again, I start with my sketch, I pick the top, and now I can just start creating what I want inside of here. So if I hover my mouse over this, you'll notice that I can do a press pull. So if I pull it up, Fusion knows that I want to add material. If I pull it down, Fusion knows that I want to cut it out. And so now I have a pocket that I can put in here. And so again, I can choose this corner, do a press pull, put a round in there. I can add more edges in here by holding the control key down to get all four corners. And basically with Fusion, what you see is what you get. So if I don't see anything, notice I get an error there because I'm really extending this beyond its geometric capabilities. So here it's going to show me that preview, which looks good. So that's just a real simple exercise in understanding what this history tree is. At some point, I can scroll back here and take a look at the different stages here. Maybe before I put this round in, I want to do something else to this model. Maybe maybe I want to put a notch in here and then come back and do a round. So you can always scroll back in time and do different things to affect certain features and functions here. Like for example, let me go back to here, and I'm going to hollow this thing out. So the shell command allows me to say I want to pick these two faces, we want to hollow it out, and now I move forward. You can see here that I have a problem with that. You can see that that shell was done before all this other stuff was done. But what I could do is I can take that shell now and say, let's just drag it all the way to the end. And now I have that shell that is acting correctly, to this. So the order with which you create things is very important within Fusion. But keep in mind that you can always change that order by just simply dragging and dropping here.